I see that there's more people in here. Good to see everyone. Because now we're ready for the Innovation, Entrepreneurship, and Impact panel presented by RISE. This panel provides an opportunity for ISEF attendees to hear from successful ISEF alumni about their careers, creating startups, launching innovations, and making a difference around the world. Another reminder for those of you presenting your questions to this panel, please step to the microphones in the center aisle when prompted. First, I'm pleased to introduce a special guest joining us on behalf of RISE. He is a 2021 RISE Global winner and an ISEF alum from 2021 and 2022. So let's welcome back to the ISEF stage, Rushan Goyal.
Hello, everyone. They say luck arises when preparation meets opportunity. Good morning. I'm Rushan, a 2021 and 22 ISEF alum and awardee. I'm also a RISE Global winner, and I'm thrilled to be here today to speak to you on behalf of RISE. RISE is a program that supports talented young people and provides them with opportunities as they serve others over their lifetimes. Look around you. No, seriously, turn left, turn right, look around you. Everybody in this room has incredible talents. Talents that can deeply and profoundly shape the world. Talents that programs like RISE, ISEF, World Science Scholars, and many others can support. Let me tell you a little something about my experience. In high school, I was fascinated by machine learning and computational biology. I was especially fascinated by the cellular landscape, with its hundreds of potential biomarkers and its disease-specific pathways that can give rise to new therapeutics. In fact, both my ISEF projects, 21 and 22, were at this intersection of AI and biology. Through ISEF's resources and platform, I was able to take my budding interest in research to the next level. This, of course, also includes the mentorship and encouragement that I got from IRIS, which is India's national ISEF-affiliated fair. Since then, RISE has helped me continue building on these passions. In February, for example, RISE invited me to a Schmidt Science Fellows networking reception. At dinner, in a moment of serendipity, I found out that I was sitting at a table with the co-founder of one of my favorite startups. It's called Big Hat Biosciences, and they use machine learning to create new, better antibody therapeutics. I'll admit, it was initially a bit intimidating to speak up at a table full of people twice my age who all seem to know each other. But I'm really glad I did. The co-founder and I struck an amazing conversation. And by the end, she connected me to their head of talent to discuss a potential summer opportunity. In April, Big Hat extended an internship offer. And I was overjoyed. Overjoyed to have the chance to spend 3 months working on tough problems in a field I'm passionate about with people I admire. At the same time, the reason I was prepared to do what the internship required is because of the strong mathematical and scientific skills that I built in high school with ISEF and World Science Scholars, and which I've continued studying as a first-year student at Stanford. Another privilege and opportunity made possible by RISE's higher education support. Like I said, preparation and opportunity. The fact that you're all here in this room means you're prepared. I know you've put in the hours. And I'm confident that you're going to leave here even more prepared. The upcoming conversation, for instance, is going to give you amazing insights on how to be better innovators and entrepreneurs. All you need to do now is be on the lookout for opportunities. And good news, at a place like ISEF, they're all around you. I'm fortunate that RISE was that opportunity for me, and I hope it'll enable me to have a lasting impact on the world. Now, we're just about to start the Innovation, Entrepreneurship, and Impact panel, sponsored by RISE. I'm sure the panelist stories will include some of the same themes that I brought up. Be prepared and take advantage of the opportunities that come your way, and you can make the impact you want. Thank you so much.
Our thanks to Rushan and presenting sponsor, Rise. Now, please welcome back President and CEO of Society for Science and Executive Publisher of Science News, Maya Ajmera, along with our Innovation, Entrepreneurship, and Impact panelists.
So welcome to the Innovation, Entrepreneurship, and Impact panel. I'm so excited to be here today with 4 amazing alumni. They're all doing fantastic and exciting things and can highlight the many incredible paths that are available to you. First, I'd like to introduce Christina Constantini, who's an Emmy award-winning director. She directed the 2018 Sundance Film Festival favorite, Science Fair, about the 2017 ISEF. Yeah. The film won an Emmy, Critics' Choice Award, and was adapted into a docuseries called Science Fair, the Series, for National Geographic, which is about the 2022 Regeneron ISEF. She also directed the Emmy-nominated documentary Mucho Mucho Amor about Puerto Rican astrologer Walter Mercado. Christina received her bachelor's degree from Yale, went to the University School of Milwaukee for high school, and competed in ISEF in 2004-2005. Next, please meet Neil Hatangadi, CEO and co-founder of Cortica, a technology-enabled autism care company. Neil has been a healthcare technology startup leader for over 20 years, launching and selling 3 companies. Neil received his Bachelor of Science in Engineering from Duke University, his Master's of Science in Computer Science at Oxford, where he was a Rhodes Scholar, and his MD from Harvard Medical School. He is a graduate of Winter Park High School in Winter Park, Florida, and competed in ISEF in 1992, 94, and 1995. I'm happy to introduce Glenn Meyerowitz, the CEO and founder of Clarity Technology, a company that is developing systems and technology for carbon dioxide removal. Glenn received his undergraduate degree from Yale and then joined SpaceX, where he worked as a test engineer. He later received his MS in electrical engineering from UCLA. Glenn is a graduate of Northport High School in Northport, New York, and competed in ISEF in 2009. And lastly, please meet Naomi Shaw, founder and CEO of Meet Cute, a modern entertainment company that produces and distributes original scripted stories. Before starting Meet Cute, Naomi was a member of the investment team at Union Square Ventures, a venture capital firm in New York. Prior to that, she worked at Goldman Sachs and studied mechanical engineering with a minor in human biology at Stanford University. Naomi graduated from Sunset High School in Portland, Oregon, and competed in ISEF from 2010 through 2013. So let's start with some questions. Let me ask you, all of you, how does it feel to be back at ISEF? And what impact did ISEF have on you? Let me start with you, Naomi.
So fun to be back here. Hi, everyone. The last time I was here was 11 years ago. And I would say the biggest impact that ISEF had on me, aside from working on my research project and understanding how science research works, is the community that we have here and meeting people from around the world who were so different from me in many ways and so similar to me in a few key ways. And I've stayed in touch with a lot of people that I met at ISEF.
Glenn.
It's so great to be back here as well. So I was at ISEF about 15 years ago. And my high school science fair project was really my first dive into deep critical scientific and technical thinking, and gave me a whole range of experiences and exposure to a part of my brain in the world that I didn't know existed before working on that project. That enabled me to go do research and technical projects in college and beyond, fed into the work that I did in industry, and then certainly into the work that I'm doing now as an entrepreneur in the technology space. And that all started with my research experience in high school. So, it's a phenomenal opportunity that you all have to be here in the top of your fields already with so much potential in front of you.
Christina.
Yeah. ISEF, you know this, but ISEF was transformational for me. It's the place where I finally met my people. I felt like I came to this world where there are almost 2,000 kids who are like me, who are trying to solve problems, who were independently motivated by their own curiosities, and I was really inspired, and I also had a ton of fun. So that was the heart of the inspiration for the film that I made, was wanting to capture that, bottle it, and share it with more people. So it's been, it's a privilege to be back, and you can't keep me away. I keep coming back. So I think it's like my 5th or 6th ISEF now, but I'm so excited to be here.
Neil?
Yeah, it's incredible to be back. I did my first ISEF 32 years ago, which is hard to believe, and so much is changed, but so much is the same. Wandering the exhibits this morning, realized that the way you're all presenting your work is actually very similar to a generation ago. ISEF for me just cemented that I wanted to devote my career, my life to innovation and be driven by curiosity. And it gave me such a foundation to then take through college and medical school and the companies I started. So it was very much a life-changing and transformational event.
So I just want to ask a little bit about your work you're doing now. Christina, what are you working on right now? What's your next movie? Is it Science Fair Part 3?
Part 43. It's I'm actually doing a documentary about Sally Ride, the first American woman in space, and she is incredibly inspirational. She was the first woman in her field, and she was coming up, during a time when there were not very many other women. Now we're lucky enough that you look around ISEF and is it majority female now? But but at that time, it was much different, and so I'm really honored to be able to tell the story of an explorer who was doing big things and breaking the highest glass ceiling of all.
Naomi, tell us about Meet Cute.
Yes, so Meet Cute is an entertainment company. We make scripted stories in audio to start, but then they go off and become TV shows, movies, books. And at the heart of it is wanting to tell stories. And I love connecting it back to what all of you do, because you tell a story about the projects that you're working on, and it's ideas and experiences that connect us all. So that's kind of the parallel between my story that started here at ISEF and how it connects to running a company in entertainment and media today.
Neil, tell us about Cortica.
So Cortica is a interdisciplinary care model for kids with autism and their families. And I've done 3 healthcare companies. 2 were in cardiovascular disease, 1 was in ENT. And I got into autism because across all therapeutic areas that I was exposed to, it was one, and there was this greatest need when you looked at the prevalence increasing, the need for integration, multidisciplinary care, because it spans genetics and metabolic issues, neurology, behavior, school supports. And so we have 2,500 clinicians across the company, across the country, who use a technology backbone to really provide all the care that a family would need for autism and other neurodevelopmental conditions.
And Glenn, tell us about Clarity.
Definitely, glad to. Can I just get a quick show of hands? Are folks familiar with carbon dioxide removal as a topic generally? Cool, yeah, 15 years ago, nobody would have raised their hand. So we work in the carbon dioxide removal space, essentially in climate change mitigation. So historically, we collectively, not just us in this room, have emitted trillions of tons of CO2 and other greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. We need to decarbonize, reduce emissions, bring the number of new emissions from 40 billion tons a year of CO2 to as close to zero as possible. But the science is clear that even with rapid decarbonization, we need to be removing legacy emissions from the atmosphere. So my company is working on one approach, and we need a portfolio approach of a wide range of techniques to actually remove legacy emissions from the atmosphere and durably store them to keep them out of the atmosphere so that we can mitigate some of these worst effects of climate change.
Wonderful. Okay, quick question. Neil, waffles or pancakes?
Waffles.
Christina?
Definitely waffles.
Glenn?
Pancakes.
Waffles.
Wow, very interesting. Okay, I'm going to now ask our first student to please introduce himself and say where he's from, or she, and your question.
Hi, my name is Mithun Arun from Palatine, Illinois, and I'm really honored to be here today. My question is for all of you on the panel. What strategies do you try to use to manage your team well and uphold a positive team culture?
Who would like to take that? Go ahead.
One of the, actually, there are two that come to mind. The first one is giving people ownership over what they're working on. And what ownership means to me is that they don't just control the decisions that they make, but they feel like those decisions impact the company and the direction that the company is going in. And the second one is giving them creative freedom. So like the room to experiment and play and feel like they actually can make mistakes and grow from them and try new things within the company.
You know, one great thing that all of us represent is impact to the world, and being able to connect your employees to that mission is amazing. So for us, because of the care we deliver, we have so many great patient testimonials, we have a lot of outcomes data, and so being able to surface that back to the clinicians, the employees, even the non-patient facing folks, so that they know that their work is changing the world, is a great way to inspire a team and build a culture. Because very few people at the end of the day work for a paycheck, they work for a connection to a greater good. And constantly reminding employees of that is really powerful.
Christina, I'm curious, right? You're in filmmaking, so you have to deal with a lot of people doing a lot of different things, right?
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's a job that some days you're talking to the assistant editor, and sometimes you're talking to the head of National Geographic, and you have to, use many different skills at many different times. But I do think science fair trains you in a really productive way for those kinds of skills, and I think, communication, although you're all scientists, communication is one of the key abilities that I think you learn here and you practice here. And you guys are off to an incredible start in any part of life, but communicating your greater vision, communicating what is inspiring you, and I think your answers were brilliant, that you have to make sure every member of your team understands what this greater cause is in order to build a productive ethos and a productive environment.
Want to say anything, Glenn?
I was just taking down notes while
Okay.
we're talking. I'm going to go back to my team and say those same things later.
All
Nothing
right.
else to add.
Next finalist.
Talofa and greetings. My name is Emily Chen, and I come from the beautiful islands of American Samoa. First off, I want to say a big thank you, or whawhitai, for this wonderful opportunity. And my question for everyone is, what do you think is the most misunderstood aspect of your field by the public?
Who would like to take that on? Neil?
I could around autism. So, for scientists and physicians who are typically looking to solve problems, most of healthcare people view as here's a disease that I need to cure. So neurovascular disease, cardiovascular disease, broken bones. Autism is different. It's not a condition to be cured. What we're really working on is helping children with autism gain the skills to function at the best of their abilities and break down the barriers that are preventing them from achieving their goals, but we're not trying to change their personalities. And there's a huge movement around the world on neurodiversity and accepting people for who they are and embracing the diversity. And so it's the first field of medicine I've been around where the goal is not curative, it's really about unlocking joy for people who are neurodiverse.
Anybody else?
Yeah.
Yes.
So we work in the climate technology space, and very strong opinions on climate change, climate technology, climate change mitigation, and the work that we do at a high level. When I came into this field, I very much came in as a skeptic, right? You know, oh, carbon removal is going to take a lot of energy. We should use that to power homes, to power cars, to enable the transition away from fossil fuels to other sources of energy. The more that I dove into the science and the literature and started to understand the space, the more it became clear to me the importance of carbon removal and the mitigation work that we're doing as well. And so specifically, you know, you guys in this room are, you know, 15, 18 years old, in that range. By the time you're the age of us on this stage, we need the technology that my company and other companies like me are working on to be at massive, massive scale, removing billions of tons of CO2 from the atmosphere. And this is something that's going to take not a weekend of work coding an app, not a few months in a research lab, but decades of concerted work by thousands, millions of people across the world. And so trying to get people to understand the importance of putting in time and energy now, so that when you guys are our age, this technology exists, is a really important thing and a discussion that we have to have with many in the space.
Anybody else?
I'll just say one thing about media and entertainment, which often I think is thought of as this like separate category. And like, I think all of us up here are talking about how storytelling is woven into actually every field. But something that I talk to my team about a lot, which I think is misunderstood, is that storytelling and the ability to connect to people through stories is actually part of well-being. And it's not healthcare or mental health, which are maybe more prescriptive, but we look to music and film and interviews to connect to people, and that is kind of an important part of how we feel good. And so there is a well-being component to storytelling that I think sometimes goes unheard.
Okay, all right. I have a quick question. What or who has been the greatest inspiration for the work that you do? Neil, I'll start with you.
The greatest inspiration for my life really has been my parents, and being back here reminds me of that. For 4 years I did a project in botany, and it hasn't occurred to me the level of sacrifice they did until I'm now doing it for my kids and realize how taxing it is to drive. They drove me all over town. They supported me in bringing my project to ISEF and the other science fairs along the way. And it's really left me with a sense of sort of obligation and awe, really, to make good on them. And I'm sure so many of you are so grateful to your parents and will continue to be for supporting your journey to this point.
You can take it. My mom is my inspiration, very similar. She ran her own company for 30 years, so I always saw how she balanced running a company and entrepreneurship with our family and our family life. But she also pivoted her career, so she started in medicine and then switched into entrepreneurship after getting an MBA. And so from a young age, I saw that pivoting and switching into different parts of what you're interested in is very normal and something to be celebrated. And I also went through a pivot, so I think about her, and she's an inspiration in what I do.
Yeah, Chris.
Yeah, because I just mentioned it, I've been thinking a lot about Sally Ride, the first American woman in space, and she has been an incredible inspiration to me because she was dogged in her hard work. She had the pursuit for excellence. She was exceptional in many, many different ways, but I think what I've learned most about her in telling her story is that she failed a lot. She was not a particularly good student when she was in high school. She wanted to be a professional tennis player. Her backhand kept her from that. She was not exceptional in many, many ways, but she found her career path, and she found the way to space. And I think you learn that through the science fair as well, which I think is incredible, is that you're not going to succeed the first time. You're going to fail over and over and over again, and you're going to have to find something that's statistically significant. It might not be your first experiment or your second experiment or your third experiment, and I think failure is part of the journey to success, and I think the sooner that, I wish I had understood that sooner, but just get back up and try again every time.
Yeah, so my brother is about 3 years older than me, and I got to learn a lot by watching his failures, and so trying to avoid some of the pitfalls and things that I saw him do. So he was also at ISEF a few years before I was. Extraordinarily smart, very hardworking. He's a physician now, and it was always very inspiring to me to see both his hard work and diligence, how people respected him and responded to the way that he treated others with respect, and then the balance that he took not only to a rigorous STEM education, but to broadening his education and making himself uncomfortable outside of that, traveling internationally, learning new languages, meeting with new people, doing things that as a scientist, essentially getting out of the lab. That was something that he did really, really well, and I was able to learn from that and emulate that as much as I could, see where he had failures, had pitfalls, try to avoid that as best I could as well, so learning both from the good and the bad.
So quick question, dinosaurs or robots? Naomi.
Robots.
Glenn?
Like to fight, or what's in what context? What am I doing with
Which one would you pick, dinosaurs or robots?
I love Jurassic Park, so I'm going to go with dinosaurs.
Okay.
I love robots, and seeing the ones in the exhibit hall today were really inspiring.
Dinosaurs, I think. There's a lot to be learned from the past.
All right. I'm going to hand it now to our next finalist.
Hi, my name is Jophie Lin, and I'm from Pennsylvania in the United States. So my question for all panelists is, how can entrepreneurs ensure their innovations contribute positively to society, especially in addressing global challenges such as climate change, education, and healthcare?
I'd like to take that. Great. Go ahead.
I can give that a go. It's not easy. It's definitely not easy, right? Particularly in the climate tech space where there is so much money going into this. There are so many people who are trying to make a lot of money, who can easily manipulate and change what you're working on. Have a vision, have focus, try to maintain control as much as you can, and know why you're working, not just, I think Neil was talking about this earlier, right? It's not just for today and tomorrow, but it's what will this look like 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now, so that you can maintain that positive impact. So have a longer term vision. Find people who share that vision is going to be a key one as well. You can bring on money from people who don't share your vision, and it will get warped and you will lose control. So do the best you can to have focus and maintain that control if possible.
Anybody else?
I agree with Glenn, and it's very similar in him addressing an incredible problem with climate change, and what I've gone after in healthcare. It's always keeping at the center of your attention from the very inception of your company all throughout. What is that North Star that you're driving to? And make it something big and powerful that will change the world, because that will allow you to tolerate all of the volatility, because there's lots of grit required, lots of setbacks, failures, unanticipated events like COVID hurt all of us in different ways. So you need that kind of riding North Star that continues to push you towards having impact at scale.
And building off of that, I think remembering who you are working on your project for, or who you are building your company for, is really important. So when I first started on my science project, it was for my dad and my brother who had allergy symptoms. And then as I met more and more people, I realized that there's so many people in this world who suffer from allergies and asthma. So keeping that audience, or like the people that you're working on this for, at the forefront, I think will ensure that you stay focused on the positive impact. And then for that audience, being able to explain not only the how, but also the why. Like, why is this important for that group of people?
Absolutely. Christina?
Yeah, I started my career as an investigative journalist covering immigration and social issues, and I did a lot of serious documentaries, a lot of serious work. And then I needed a break from that, and I pitched science fair, and I got to make it, and I made a film that was about all of the things that I did these serious investigations about. It was about women in science, it was about the importance of immigration, and all of these concepts that I was able to deliver in an exciting, fun, happy, hopefully funny documentary. And so, I think for me it was figuring out that even if you're doing serious and important work, it doesn't have to be, serious. It doesn't have to feel serious and important all the time. But really surrounding yourself with a group of like-minded people who have your same core values, I think really helps ensure that what you end up doing and making also has that same ethos at its core.
Okay, next finalist.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nandini Rastogi, and I'm from Pennsylvania, United States. This question is directed towards any of the finalists who would be interested in answering. Can you share a pivotal moment or decision that significantly impacted the trajectory of your business or career?
Yeah,
I can take that. So I remember the first time I designed my own experiment. It was like the first time that I was doing something on my own that I was curious about outside of the traditional science curriculum at my school. And I would say that that was pivotal because I realized that I really liked that level of ownership and designing everything and being able to investigate on my own. And it's that same behavior that translated to why I wanted to build a company and be able to test a lot of things and be able to run my own experiments and translate that to a team that works with me. So I would say that behavior of ownership is something that instilled that sense of entrepreneurship in me.
For me, it was getting off a track that many of you are on. That is being a scientist, doing that through college and graduate school and medical school. My thought all along would be I was going to be an academic physician running a lab. That's what I knew because all the people who taught me were doing that. And the decision to jump away from that and start companies instead was very scary. I also got a lot of advice from longtime academics on, hey, you sure you want to do this? It's taking a big risk. You can stay within the confines of academia and have a brilliant career. And being willing to risk all of that and try something different and failing a number of times along the way. That was a big move. Even my parents, I gave up the practice of medicine and got a lot of heat from a lot of people, including my parents, on why I wasn't a practicing doctor anymore. But it was very transformative to what I'm doing today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this is not going to be directly related to the work that I'm doing now in my company, but in college, similarly to the story that Neil shared, I had the opportunity to actually take a break from my academic studies for a year. I was studying physics at Yale to go study abroad at a language program in Beijing, China for 13 months. This was not remotely related to the STEM work that I was doing, to research, to building things, to anything technical that I've done. It was one of the most amazing experiences that I've had in my life. I was uncomfortable. I had to learn how to communicate in a new language and with a new culture, a new cultural background. And it was a very, very informative experience for me that has shaped so much of my life since then, right? So really, I think if you can make yourself uncomfortable, if you can find ways to, learn how to communicate differently, that will pay dividends, whether you end up in academia, whether you end up as an entrepreneur in really any role, right? You're always going to be talking about budgets and trying to get someone to give you money for a grant or for a company. And the better that you can communicate that complex idea, the more likely you are to have success. And so taking that time off, straying from that predetermined path was a phenomenal decision that I made.
Yeah, sure, yeah. I think for me, more than a moment that changed my career, it was probably the people who changed my career. And it was finding people who I could learn a lot from that really is the reason that I am where I am. I own a company with some of my best friends who are all, about 10 years older than I am, and I learn from them every day. They've taught me so much of what I now know, and I'm incredibly grateful to that. But to them, I also think going out on your own, taking a risk and starting a company can be very scary, but I'm glad that now I have the luxury of choosing what projects I want to take on, developing my own projects, and it's a real joy to have that freedom. And I very much encourage people to think outside of maybe the paths that seem like you've been raised with. I thought I would have to be a doctor, a lawyer, or one of these four things, and they're actually in real life there are so many more jobs.
Okay, next finalist.
Aloha, my name's Ellie, and I'm from Honolulu, Hawaii, and it's so inspiring to hear you all speak and share your ideas. And so my question is for Ms. Constantini. So as a partner at Muck Media, you focus on quality journalistic storytelling across mediums from film to series and more. And so what do you see as the keys to impactful nonfiction storytelling right now? And how do you hope your stories illuminate complex issues while still engaging a wide audience?
That's a great question. Thank you. I do think at its core, my company wants to tell good stories about important topics and things that we feel like are pressing and affecting our world. So we have a show on National Geographic called Trafficked about the underworlds, hosted by one of my best friends, Mariana Van Zeller. And we are doing a number of projects about space, about science, and all kinds of different subject matter. But I think really, as with science, the key to telling stories is making them compelling and finding incredible people and vehicles to tell those stories. So Science Fair was incredible. It was an embarrassment of riches because so many of you guys are so spectacular. And actually, Milena, who is in the Science Fair film, is right there. She's an incredible, brilliant mind, and I'm lucky enough that I get to see her all the time. But I think the key is what we've been talking about, is keeping your moral compass and your ethos at the heart of all of the work that you do. And we've been so fortunate to be able to tell stories of all different varieties. But I very much encourage the science to storytelling pipeline. I think there's a lot of skills that are directly transferable.
Okay, next finalist.
Good day, esteemed panelists. My name is Jeslyn, and I'm from Sydney, Australia. It's an honor to be able to stand before you here today. My question is directed to Mr. Hattengadi. As a leader in a healthcare company, what do you see as the most promising areas of research or technology that could revolutionize patient care in the next decade?
Thanks so much for your question. Great to have you here. So unlike the prior panel, who's brilliant academics, I really see it from a company standpoint and what's investable and what companies can drive for the future of healthcare. I think there are a few different topics. AI is incredible and really infusing all aspects of healthcare and what we can do with data in a way that previously was never possible. Another is in the area of gene editing, genetic therapies that are essentially curative for conditions. Right now, it's a limited number, really childhood onset, where there's a gene deficit, and being able to reintroduce that gene is truly curative for conditions that previously were really devastating. And the third area that I think is really pulling all of this together is personalized medicine. So in the field that I'm in autism care, it's incredibly heterogeneous. So no two patients are the same. They've got very different behavioral manifestations, medical manifestations, and to be able to diagnose across imaging, neurophysiology, metabolic profiling, the family and social inputs, and use all of that data to put each patient on a unique therapeutic plan that's informed by things like AI and molecular targeting, gene therapies, et cetera. That's really going to transform medicine over the coming couple decades, where everyone will really be personalized in the particular care you need across all your systems, linking it all together in a way that's going to just allow so much more than individual physicians can do with their own algorithms, but really thinking about how, from a systems biology standpoint, you can take all that information together and put each patient on their own therapeutic journey.
Okay, thank you. Next finalist.
Hello, my name is Cameron Tedrick. I'd like to thank you all for your time this evening. I'm from St. Clair, Missouri in the United States, and my question goes to the panel as a whole. Entrepreneurship is a daunting endeavor, particularly when trying to figure out what you need to do to get started. What resources do you find most useful when trying to figure out what steps you need to take first?
Go ahead, Naomi.
I can start. Maya said yesterday that science is a team sport, and I think entrepreneurship is the exact same way. So the same way that we all found experts and mentors to talk to for our science research, I use the exact same behaviors to find experts and mentors to talk to for my work every day. And then finding really smart people that you want to come work at the company. They help us figure out a lot of things that I can't do on my own. So I think it's really surrounding yourself with people and then being fearless when you ask questions and not being afraid to take no for an answer. And those are, I think, ways to at least get started. A lot of people in this room will probably be the people that you can pressure test your business ideas against, and maybe even like find a co-founder here or a mentor amongst the teachers and judges here.
Yeah, I'd love to add to that. I think, so first, obviously, this is an entrepreneurship panel. Entrepreneurship is fantastic. I love it. It's not for everyone, right? It is really challenging, and you will probably fail.
Yes.
Not you personally, though statistically it will be. Right, this is something where having a phenomenal network of people that you can talk to is great. I like to say that the prerequisite is working as hard as you can, and then you have to get lucky on top of that. So this is something where if you don't work as hard as you can, no amount of luck can make up for that. So work really hard, find something they're passionate about, know that you can rely on people, ask questions. There's no dumb questions, right? How annoyed would you be if 10 years later you're like, oh, if only I'd asked Neil that one question and it could have saved my business. But you didn't want to because you're too prideful. So, always be willing to ask and talk, work hard, and then you got to get lucky.
Anybody else? No? Okay. Next finalist.
Hello, I'm Erie Chilkirni from Saudi Arabia. Good afternoon, esteemed finalists. I'm very honored to be here standing in front of you and at ISEF. And my question is for Naomi Shah. Meet Cute is a unique concept, blending storytelling with entrepreneurship. What inspired you to create this platform? And how do you see it evolving the landscape of media and entertainment?
That's a great question. One of the biggest challenges is that traditional media and entertainment is a bit hard to break into as a creator. And so one of the things that we work on as a company at Meet Cute is lowering the barriers so that more creators can tell more stories. And I think that that's going to evolve the landscape because we think that having more stories from more diverse voices and different perspectives from around the world is a really important component of storytelling, and just to make sure that everyone's voice is heard, everyone has a story that they feel reflected in. So that's one of the biggest changes that we're working on and trying to rebuild what Hollywood and media looks like from the ground up.
Okay, next finalist.
Hi, panelists. I'm Alia Wabin from Ontario, Canada, and my question is for Mr. Mariotis. Given your diverse background in aerospace, automotive, medical devices, and climate technology, how have you adapted your skills and knowledge when transitioning between different industries?
Yeah, thank you, Alia. I always love talking about the range of things I've worked on and how do they all fit together. A lot of people give me sideways looks when I talk about my background. I think it all comes back down to the fundamentals of how I like to think about approaching problems. My undergrad degree was in physics. My science fair project in high school was on physics, and I was here and I was like, I want to be a theoretical physicist. I want to go to PhD. And then I went to college and I started doing research in physics labs, and I very quickly realized I did not want to be a theoretical physicist. But I still take that approach, right, of first principles, problem solving, math, physics-based approach to challenges. And whatever you're working on, people are going to yell at me for saying this, but it's all the same. I was working on rockets, fluid systems, heat transfer, mass transfer. I was at UCLA Health working in pulmonology. What are the lungs, if not the rocket of the body? And there's so many ways in which these systems overlap if you can break them down to the core constituents and the components associated with them. So I try not to pigeonhole myself and say, I am an aerospace engineer. I know people who do this, and then I try to hire them for my climate tech company, and they're like, the smartest people I've met. And they're like, oh, I couldn't do that. I'm just a rocket scientist. And I'm like, okay, that's a weird statement. But so if you open up your mind, right, what are the problems that you're trying to solve, and then break it down to the fundamentals, you can do a lot if you have the right background.
Okay, quick question. Summer or winter?
I'm a winter girl. I'm from Wisconsin.
Definitely summer.
I'm from New York. I moved out to LA 5 years ago. My mom texted me pictures of like the snow, and it's like, "You want to come home?" And it's like 70 degrees, and I'm in shorts at the beach. So definitely summer.
Winter. I love skiing.
Okay. What advice have you found most effective personally or professionally? I think finalists would really love to hear like, words of wisdom, advice.
Wear sunscreen every day.
There, yep.
Good one.
Mine is something I said earlier, but I'll reiterate, which is to be fearless, not just with the experiments and the science research that you're doing, but also with asking for help and advice. I think it's very easy to think it's a sign of weakness to ask for help and go to people, but it's actually a strength and something that I think has made like a lot of people very successful in their respective fields.
Neil?
Mine's been to stay curious and pursue impact, which is what got me into science fair. I had great high school mentors who helped me along the way, and I've just really tried to hold on to it, even as I've gotten now close to 50, tap into what I had back at age 15.
Glenn?
Yeah, I think other than sunscreen, work outside of your field and explore other areas. The breadth and depth of knowledge that you have can both be really impactful in ways that you might not understand now. So, I took English classes in college. I went into it, and I mean, I'm not a good writer. I was not pre-med, so I didn't need to maintain a 4.0. And those are some of the most impactful classes that I took, right? I talked about my time in China, where I was, in a completely new environment learning, but learning how to write clearly and shape an argument. Taking history classes, you don't want to, come across as an idiot who only knows about chemistry, right? You want to know a wide range of things, and it's fantastic. So step outside of your comfort zone and get a wide range of knowledge.
Yeah, I would say don't be scared. Don't be scared to look dumb. Don't be scared to ask questions. And if you're not the best at something, that's okay. You don't have to be good at everything. Find people who are better than you and have them teach you or have them work with you. I think at a certain level, the skill set of running or owning a company is knowing how to build a team and knowing how to inspire a team. So find collaborators, and ask them and make them teach you.
One of the things is these finalists are looking to solve the world's most intractable problems, right? And there's a lot of challenges that we're facing. What's keeping you up at night these days? Pandemic, climate change, not wearing sunscreen?
I would say the robots, not the dinosaurs.
It's the robots.
It's the robots, not the dinosaurs, yeah. I think
it's keeping you up.
The implications of AI, I think, are there's a lot to figure out, and I hope that it ends up being harnessed by people like ISEF kids who will hopefully do good things with it.
Yeah, I'm around a lot of healthcare innovation in the past year. AI has been the theme throughout to help in the delivery of care, to improve the administrative processes, to help with the labor shortage. But it's exactly the right point around how can we harness it for good versus some of the potentially the problematic challenges of it. And I think another thing that worries me is occasionally very deep entrenched views where people can't see each other's perspectives, and it's wonderful in an environment like this where there's so much open-mindedness, so much receptivity and kindness. I think that's also needed in the world right now. Instead of having very partisan ideologies, we really need to work together to solve these very, very challenging global problems.
This may be surprising. I'd say climate change is the biggest issue that I see us facing, right? So I've worked in aerospace, making life multiplanetary, in the automotive industry, working on autonomous vehicles, self-driving vehicles, in the medical device industry, healthcare industry, improving care for patients. As I look at the problems that we face in our lifetime and in your lifetime, if we're not able to mitigate some of the worst effects of climate change, then a lot of these other challenges that we're facing, I think, kind of go away, right? This is something that is existential and is becoming ever more present every day. So that's, as I look back, I don't know if our company will succeed, but 20 years from now, I want to look back and say there's nothing that I would have wanted to do more with my time than the work that we're doing now to try to mitigate some of the worst effects of climate change.
What's keeping me up at night is thinking about we have so much access to information today. Like, you all are some of the most connected young scientists and researchers. But with that comes a lot of mis and disinformation. So there's a lot of information out there, and making sure that you can sift through and figure out what the actual scientific truth is, and making sure that other people know that and have access to that, I think is really important. But to build on what Neil said, I do think that no one person or one field can necessarily solve today's problems. I do think it's going to take a lot of communication and collaboration. So finding those information sources, challenging other information sources, and really making sure the truth comes through, I think is really important.
So let me go back. I want you to step back to if you could be an ISEF finalist again, right? If you could go back and say, I'm going to be an ISEF finalist, what would you do differently? And based on what you've learned, tell me about that. I'm always curious to ask those that have competed, and now thinking back, would I have done something differently, right? And we heard from Gideon Yu last night, who competed, and he said, I wasn't present enough. I was too into my project and too stressed out, et cetera, et cetera. Do you have any thoughts around if you could impart wisdom, what would you do differently? Yeah, Christina.
Yeah, I would say that competition is kind of not the point of science fair. And I think when I was 14 or 15, I thought, oh, I need to win, I need to compete, I have to present well. And I wish I could just have been in it more and really appreciated all of the relationships that I was creating, all of the speakers that I was listening to, and instead, competition isn't really the point of all this. Competition is great because it gets us to show up, and who doesn't like prizes, and who doesn't like money, and who doesn't like awards, but it is so much more meaningful than that. Collaboration and the culture of science fair, there's the people who you're meeting are some of the most brilliant people in the whole world, and they're going to go on and do brilliant things, and you know them now when they're 14, 15, 16, 17. So I would just stop the noise of the competitiveness and the nerves, because you'll do great, and whatever happens, it will be amazing.
Give
and
a big kick. Yeah, let's do that. Yep. Neil?
I love the point on being present and enjoy it, as opposed to being detracted by the competitive elements. Totally agree with that. I think it's also about the connectivity. I didn't realize until I got into entrepreneurship that it was less about what I knew and what I could do, but the connections that I had. So most of my investors are friends that I had and met through college, ISEF, medical school, and other experiences. And when you get to know people at 15 to 22, there's a different level of friendship than when you get to know people in their 40s, where it's much more transactional. And so embrace these relationships, get to know the people that are around you, stay in touch, because they will be incredible friendships that wind up being professionally valuable, personally valuable. The one other thing I would say is really let all of this fuel you to do what's next. You're amongst the brightest scientists and engineers in the world. So whatever you want to do from here, let this experience really fill you with that fuel and confidence to go out and fulfill your dreams.
Glenn?
Yeah, and I think on that same point, right, the diversity of the individuals, the locations that you're coming from, present in this room, is also such a unique opportunity to take advantage of. This is something that, right, that's very intentional about these competitions and where y'all are from, take advantage of meeting new people, of talking to new people, of changing your worldview, right? What Neil was saying earlier about how we're so entrenched in our beliefs, and find someone and have a conversation that challenges you and pushes you, and someone who you wouldn't be able to meet normally because they came to LA for this event. That was certainly not on my agenda when I was here years and years ago. And if you're able to spend time meeting new people and connecting, I don't know what'll happen because I didn't do that, but it'll be exciting, I guarantee you.
I'll echo what Christina said. I think that like you're here, you're already a winner, and it's such an amazing opportunity that you get to be here in LA and meet everyone. One of my favorite things that we did when I was at ISEF, and I don't know if this is like okay to say or not, but the day after judging, public viewing day, we would like switch projects and try and present each other's projects.
Oh, interesting.
And it was fun because like we'd heard our neighbors talk about their research, and so I was like learning so much from them, and so we'd see through osmosis how much I could present of their research, and it was just a really fun thing. So have fun with it, and like the connections and friends that you make here are really special.
Okay, so we're almost at the end of our time, and we have an amazing guest coming afterwards, Dr. Jeanette Epps, the astronaut from the International Space Station. But just before she comes on, I wanted to ask, you're older and wiser, right? And all of these kids are always hearing from their parents, right? Or their teachers, or their science fair directors. But if you could give some parting advice, gentle advice, some guidance, what would that be? Anyone? Naomi?
My advice would be to, not be too focused on one set path, which is something you've heard here. I think like staying open to a lot of possibilities. In the big scheme of life, you're so young, and I feel very young still too. So I have to keep reminding myself of that.
Take it easy on yourself. You're working really hard. You've been working really hard for the last few years, and it will be hard to get to wherever you're trying to get to next, whether you think you know what that is, whether you don't know what it is, but you'll figure it out as you go. And it's a marathon, not a sprint, right? And it's not something that you can grind through for the next, how long is med school? However many years through med school and fellowship and kind of whatever goes on after that. Take it easy, relax, have fun, enjoy the beautiful weather when you can. Enjoy LA. Sorry, it's a little gloomy today and this week, but there's so much time where you'll need to work really hard, that if there was ever an opportunity where you can take a breath, take a step back, do so and take advantage of that, and don't feel bad about it.
Neil?
Yeah, I agree with the comments. It's this dual dynamic of be fueled by your incredible success, the impact you can have in the world, and let that fuel you to do so much in your life, but at the same time, find the balance, because it absolutely is a marathon. I've seen so many colleagues along the way, friends, who put so much pressure on themselves, and it is a problem today where with so much expectation, so much information coming at you, the challenges of mental health through adolescence and early adulthood is really problematic. It's something I deal with professionally at work. And so just find a way to be fueled by what you can do, but stay balanced so you can do it for a long career.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I would say don't be discouraged. There are so many, I remember at this age, so many small measures of success and failure all the time. Every day you're getting a different grade, or a college acceptance, or you get this internship or you don't. That tends to go away as you get older. You're not measured as much, and I think as you get older, you start to realize that the path is not so clear. It's not so either you succeed in this one way and then your life is going to be a success. These are all very small parts of your life, and each individual failure, don't let it discourage you. Learn from it, grow from it. The next time you'll do better. I think I wish I could tell myself, like, it's okay. it was one grade. It was one test. It was one application. So just keep going.
So we're at the end of our discussion here, but can we just say a big thank you to our panelists, Christina, Neil, Glenn, and Naomi, for sharing their incredible stories today. Let's give them a big round of applause, guys. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you to Maya, our alumni panelists, and to our sponsor, Rise. What everyone think? Is that pretty good?